Zoom used to say, make an announcement whenever we started the recording, but it doesn't do it anymore. So, but anyway, all right. Welcome everyone to our fourth. Trying to mute Sophia because I'm getting some feedback from him. Where's my mute button? I cannot see the mute.
Sorry.
Anyway, so this is our fourth session in the ABCs of Wealth financial literacy series. Thank you so much for coming back, joining us. So far, our friends from Cambodia are here, our dear friends, and also our dear friend Shifa, who's a very close neighbor to me. All right, so we'll do a quick review of what we've done, what we started, where we're going, and screen. Give me a second to get set up here. Go so I can see who's in, who's not. All right. So again, this is our fourth session. We started with our spiritual aspects of finances. We looked at our human treasures. And as you're seeing, the program is basically based on character development. And as you've seen every week, every session, we are touching upon usually about like 2 character traits. And I'm hoping that you are seeing the connection between our character traits and our finances. So tonight we're going to start with looking at the goals that we've set and how the new tools that we have learned, the budget and then the assets and liabilities, is going to help us achieve our goals. So if you remember, everybody set some goals, whether they are personal or family, and we looked at that we are always investing in our future from the time when we're conceived in the mother's womb until the end, when there is no end, for those that believe there is spirituality and our soul continues to live after our body dies. So these goals, we need to be able to track them, because often we set goals. I want an iPhone. I know it's cost $500. I say that I'm going to save in 1 year for my goal, and I genuinely say I'm going to do more chores, I'm going to play less video games, and this is what I wanted. This is going to help me in business. But in real life, we know that we get distracted. We want a phone, but then we see a new TV, we see a newer car or something like that, that we get distracted. And often the time period that we set, or the things that we say we're going to do, they may not be realistic. So we need to learn this process of continuously looking at our goal and being able to measure, am I getting close to that? Am I making progress? I'm going to put another goal in here. Maybe some people have some loans to debt to pay off. So I'm going to put that in here. Pay off debt, whatever that is, 20,000. I'll just put $20,000 in here. I want to pay it off in 1 year. Let's eat out and sacrifice whatever I'm going to do. But then I have to be able to see how am I making progress in there. And the way we do that is, this is why the budget and the assets and liabilities are so important. Because the budget sheet, if we've never done a budget sheet, we have some ideas in our mind that these are our income and expenses on a monthly basis. Most people's income might be fixed, especially if you're employed. We have a job, it's fixed, so we know how much we get every month. If we have any kind of investment that will give us passive income, those may not be so fixed. But then also our expenses, monthly expenses, usually rent is fixed, mobile phone, at least for us in US, is fixed. We pay a fixed amount. But then there are a lot of variables in here that change from month to month. So we need to be looking at it. It's like, all right, now let me see that I planned this. I planned $2,700 of income for the month of May. And I have scheduled $1,000 in expenses. But now let me see how I did this month. So from now till, I'd like everyone to set a goal that by the 15th of May, everyone will have their actual numbers entered into column D in here. And again, great job to everyone who started their budget sheet. This is actually the first time that we have so many people, so many of the participants are doing the assignments religiously. I'm just loving it every day. Everybody knows that I'm communicating with most of you guys. I'm asking questions about the budget, the assets and liabilities. We're making adjustments in there, filling in. So let's keep the good work going on. Now, I said that I was going to end up with $1,600 at the end of the month, but this is obviously not correct. I need to eat something. Let's say I'm eating out $500. Let's see, entertainment I can cut back. Supermarket, I definitely need to live. This is actually $1,000 is our family of four supermarket bill. So I said I'm going to end up with 1,600, but I actually ended up in $600, which is still okay because we are learning how to create this budget and how to keep track of it. Now we come to our assets and liabilities. I had some money. I'm going to concentrate on how we track our goals. Let's say I have a savings account of $4,000, and if I really added another 600 to it from this month, then this should really go up. So, I mean, the first month is not going to, May is not going to show up, but let's say if I'm just going to put this here. So let's say at the end of April, I had $4,000. Now, if I truly ended up with $600 here in extra fund, that should be reflected in here, either in my checking account or my savings account. So I'm going to make this one 4,600. So now I can reflect back and say, all right, I'm going to go back to the, where's my goal? I said I'm going to buy an iPhone, or I'm going to, let's see, paying off the debt will come first. So if I had $20,000 worth of debt, now that $600 extra that I got at the end of the month should actually go toward paying off my debt. So the payments will go in here. And some of you might have noticed that I have actually done an update onto the assets and liabilities to make it a little bit more intuitive. I think this old format wasn't quite clear. So if you have like debt and also if you have passive income, I've made this change to not only be able to record the value of, let's say, the investment, the rental property, and then the income, but also same thing for if I have a loan. So let's say if I have a $20,000 loan, and I should be able to put that $625 in here toward repayment of my, sorry, this was the, I was not there. This one. I know I'm going back and forth in a lot of different numbers, so I apologize if this is getting a little confusing. But I just wanted to share this. So the 625 that I got extra, I should be paying off the credit cards first and foremost, because most of the time credit cards have a very high interest rate. And I was surprised actually some of our friends in Africa have credit card debt. I did not. In South Africa, and also the small country inside the South Africa, Lesotho, if I'm saying this correctly, there are credit card and there are credit card debts there. So this is how we need to, this is how we can loop, continuously loop back to see if we are on progress to reduce our debt and then also increase our assets, whatever that is that we're increasing our saving or whatever we're doing. So I'm going to stop here because I know there's probably a lot of questions about the budget and goals and assets and liabilities. So I'll stop here to see if there are any questions from anybody. I'll stop sharing before we continue on. Anybody would like to have any question about this whole process of how we keep track of our income and expenses or the budget? The assets and liabilities. Any questions that it might have come up during the week? Everybody's quiet. All right. So again, the budget and assets and liabilities, it's a continuous project. It's not something that we do once. And as I mentioned, we will work with you until you feel like you're set. You can go solo on your own. And we have done this with several previous participants for like a year until they got comfortable. They paid off their debt. They reached one of their goals. So they learn the process because again, it does take some time. And also for those of us here that we are in a family situation, we're really hoping that we get our spouses involved, even if they're not participating in this workshop, in the live workshop. But really, this is not a project that one person can do. It takes the whole family. Now, one person will need to be responsible for the logistics of keeping track of the budget, the assets and liabilities. That does not have to be both spouses or business partners. But then again, working together, especially if they're debt, if they're like credit card debt, student loan, or things that needs to be paid off, it really requires everyone's participation. All right, are we good? Everybody's quiet. All right, so today we're going to do almost 2.5 lesson plan. The first one that we're going to be doing is the topic of borrowing. And I need to set up my chat here. So borrowing is something that is part of our society, most societies. Here in the US, we are almost forced to borrow because that is how we build financial credibility. Just like when we go to school and we take tests and there is a transcript of what classes we've taken, and then also there is the grade point average or the GPA. That's a number that the teachers, other schools, they can look at and they can kind of tell us, is this person a good person? Well, not a good person. Is this person responsible? Did he or she attend most of the classes? Did he or she put a lot of effort into getting good grades? Now, it does not tell us anything about the person's characteristics, looks, how they behave and things like that, but it does provide a lot of kind of overall to see whether a person is responsible or not. In US, and I know in Europe and basically North America and also Europe and most countries that have a borrowing system, like a credit system, there are companies that keep track of whether you're financially responsible or not. So let's start by saying what are some of the things that you have borrowed? So I'm going to put that in the chat. You can also unmute yourself. Let me get to the right place so we don't get distracted. So we're looking at our accountability. And down here. So have you ever had to borrow? And if yes, what was it? Did you return it as it was agreed? Just kind of give us a scenario of you have to borrow something. I would love it if somebody can open their mic and share. Okay, also says student loans, and I have not paid back. Okay, Irma said, oh, Irma. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just writing the question.
Oh, I did that too, but that's okay. Parisa says student loan. Yes, student loans are very common in the States, in the United States. Maria says for school, I borrowed from family. I have paid it back already. Good job, Maria. That's great. From our friends outside of US, anybody has had a situation where you had to borrow anything? Sheetbar also says student loans paid back now. Okay. All right. So we like to think of borrowing as, even though I'll get into it as why we think that, we know that it's a necessity here in our US society. But borrowing, our idea of borrowing should be to make an advancement. So, and a great example is what our friends are wrote in here, most of the people that here in the US go to school, they do need to borrow money because schools are expensive, and this is higher education. Up to grade 12, still free, unless if people decide to go to a private school. But after that, there are some like 2-year programs that are free still, but most of the accredited universities are people have to pay, and they get quite expensive too. So borrowing should be to make an advancement. Higher education is one of them. Starting a business could be another one, and mostly we borrow money. That's something that we often do to make those investments. Sophia says, "I borrow to invest." Okay, that's an idea too. Sophia, can you write in chat what kind of investment did you make? As I'm talking here, with that money that you borrow. So we borrow money most of the time, although it could be like something that we wear, maybe a piece of jewelry, a car, I don't know, an apartment or something like that. So there are a lot of different things that we can borrow. When we borrow, let me change this to business. That will make business. So if you're starting a business, we borrow money, and often here in the US, the collateral would be our primary residence if they have some equity in the primary residence, because the banks want to make sure that they are going to get their money back. The lenders have two objectives in mind. First one is to get their money back on the term that it's been agreed, and also to make some money on it, some interest. Usually it's getting, so when lenders, whether it's an individual, a bank, or a family, they want to get some interest back. So Sophia said, I invested in starting the detergent enterprise. Okay, all right, very good, very good. But before anybody lends us money, as I mentioned, they want to make sure that we are accountable, we're responsible, and we're accountable. And this is how we need to build that trust for them. Here in US, I'm going to share the credit lesson, which is out of this is from our advanced level. I'll show you how we get here. So if you want to find these documents from the table of content, if you click on the printable PDF files, you'll be taken to this tab, which is one of the tabs in the worksheet. And it has all the different languages that we've so far released. We have 3 new ones coming online: Urdu and Zulu. And also, because of our friends in Cambodia, we're going to do the Khmer, if I say it correctly, we're doing that translation as well. So the advanced level, I clicked in here, and this is where it takes me. All the PDF files are available to everyone to download and print. This is all part of the material that we're providing. So this one that I'm looking at, it's the advanced level material. So we're going to look at how, what is reliability and what is credit. Why is it so important for us to have it? Again, many financial structures around the globe, they use a credit system because we do need to borrow. Not everyone needs to borrow, but here in the US, a lot of times, even when we want to get things that are not necessarily borrowing, our financial credit history is looked at. For example, if we want to get a job, the employers have the right to look at our credit history and credit report and credit score. When we get insurance for our automobile, companies can do that. I even know that some of the insurance companies here constantly monitor their clients' credit worthiness. And if they see that their financial credit worthiness is not good or it has declined, they will increase the premium on the auto insurance. One of my friends, this happened to him recently. So how do we build credit? We always start small because this is not something that we're all born with. And we start by borrowing small amounts and repaying back, small amounts and repaying back. Now, what I'm sharing here on the screen, this is mostly based on our credit system here in the US. Again, it works in North America. I know it works in Europe as well, but it might be different. I'm sure it is different around the world. And we'll ask our participants to share some of their thoughts. There are different types of credit source that we use, such as like revolving. This is our credit card because we borrow and pay back. We borrow and pay back. Then there are installment loans. It's like if you get a business loan or auto loan, we borrow some money and we have to pay it back on a monthly basis. And then also there's, of course, there's the mortgage or the home. So I'm going to stop here and ask our friends from, let's see, who do we have from outside of the US? We have our friends from Cambodia, and I know Kiza is in here. So Sophia or Kiza, either one of you guys want to share about how credit is in Uganda and Cambodia? Or anybody else from our friends in Cambodia? Also have Alcina from Angola. Either one of you guys want to share how borrowing is in your countries?
Thank you, Alex.
Go ahead, yeah, go ahead, Kiza.
Well, also in Uganda, we have banks and something else called savings and credit cooperatives. There are institutions, financial institutions that help specific groups of people, for instance, farmers, drivers, and other professions, where they are assisted to access credit at a favorable interest. And then we have other people who access credit from the banks. Some other times, the people who are working, they access credit and this is paid automatically from their earnings, like salaries. Yeah.
Okay, all right, very good. Okay, anybody else would like to share? Sophia, you usually like to share something. Or Alcina, go ahead. Who's gonna go first?
Hello.
Sophia, go ahead.
Yeah. In Cambodia, the credit system is relying on there are a bank or they call a microfinance institute, and bank and microfinance is an official one, and it operating worldwide in the wide country. Especially the microfinance, they go up to the poor community. The interest rate in Cambodia for the microfinance something around 1.5% a month.
Okay.
Yeah, that is limited by the law of Cambodia. However, the bank and the microfinance, they are very clever. Even the law determine the rate is 1.5, but they still try to make the interest rate into more like administrative fee and so on, and at the end something like 2.5% of interest rate. But this is not scare me so much. It is okay. The country need this kind of the microfinance or the bank system to support initiative. But my concern in Cambodia is about the illegal or unofficial lenders, or we call the shark, that they just give you out, lend out the money without anything, and they can, as you said last time, I think it's same to what you said. We borrow them $1,000, and they only give $600, $400, or they kept for them. And this is a serious case in Cambodia. And mostly now they charge by weekly, like 8 or 10% per week. So it's a lot of interest rate, and this is making Cambodian rural people in debt, the bad debt. I mean bad debt, not the good debt.
All right, thank you for sharing that. That's great. Alcina, did you want to share something?
Yeah, good morning. We have also a lot of learning system, but mostly we have a legal, or I'll say unofficial kind of learning system. And we don't also have that tendency of too much loan, people having a lot of loan. We have, of course, banks, and we also have individual people that open their homes for loaning, that they do loan people, but then they call it 1 by 2, like they will only you an amount and you pay the double of that. So that is mostly used here. We don't have so much systematic or official learning systems here.
All right, very good. Thank you so much. So as we see, this is the lending system can be very beneficial, but it can be, I'm just going to use the word detrimental, because here in the US, especially with the credit card debt, credit cards are readily available to just about everyone. And there's sometimes not enough accountability from the financial institutions to make sure that borrowers they do not just over borrow. And by the time they over borrow, it gets just like it's too much and they get out of control. It has been sometimes, unfortunately, people have killed their own family and themselves because they just could not bear the burden of the financial challenges that they got themselves into. So let's go into our breakout sessions. And I try to do a balance in here between those of us from US and then our friends from overseas. I hope I did the split pretty good. So the question is to continue this discussion. What challenges do you see with the borrowing system in your society, in your country? And what are some of the things that you have been able to do to make sure that you don't get into that pitfall of borrowing? And then we'll come back. So we'll take 10 minutes for our breakout session. Again, topic is about borrowing. You can talk about, is it good, is it bad? Have you had a bad experience? Have you had good experience with borrowing? And how would you try to help other people, especially if you had a bad experience, not get into those challenging situations with credit? All right, open up the rooms. I will see you guys back in 10 minutes. Miss Judy, you're in charge of your room, please.
Borrowing. We were talking about borrowing, and basically the concept behind borrowing, I think one of the most important things is punctuality, because when you have borrowed money from an institution, they carefully track, your timeliness and punctuality. So this question is, what have your experiences with borrowing been like, and what have you learned from those experiences? Can somebody volunteer to be the presenter? One of you? Mr. Ezra, can you
Yes,
pronounce?
please.
Yeah, can you pronounce your first name for me, please?
Kiza.
Kiza?
Yeah.
Can you present our discussion?
Yes, it's okay.
Can you take a few little notes? Some of the contributions that our classmates will make. So everybody, what are your experiences with borrowing money?
Okay.
Anybody has ever borrowed money? How about you, Maria? Have you ever borrowed money? Sophia? Kisa, have you ever borrowed money?
Oh, yes. My experience with borrowing, when I was growing up, when I was young,
Mhm.
I noticed that many individuals were borrowing and their properties were taken. So for me, I thought that borrowing is a very bad thing because people were not meeting their commitments. So it is something that I have had to challenge myself to
Oh, it's still right in front of your friends. There we go. All right, Irma, would you guys like to go first?
Yes, we had a very lively discussion. And Kiza took notes to share with the rest of us what we discussed in our breakout session. Go ahead, Kiza.
Okay. We were able to discuss about our experiences in relation to borrowing and creating credit. What the friends have shared is that there is access to credit in terms of students' loans, home loans, and many other different aspects. The friends shared that it is important for us to understand the consequences associated with borrowing first before we go for it, because then that makes us better prepared on how to handle it. The other thing is that some people have a bad experience with borrowing, observing what others have experienced, especially those who fail to pay and they lose their property that is taken by the lenders. Then the other aspect was at a young age, in some societies, people can access credit cards, for instance, and this makes it so easy for them to access credit. So if they don't have the proper guidance on how to deal with it, it actually becomes a very serious problem. Then the other idea was that sometimes it's difficult for us to recognize our own mistakes in order to learn and move on in a very systematic way. Then the other challenge is that, for instance, in our society, we don't have a systematic credit system. So it is difficult to trace individuals in terms of their credit history in order to understand properly their credibility and how to control credit. Yeah, that is what I was able to note down for our group.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. All right. Ms. Banks, from your group?
Our group was a little quiet tonight, but we did discuss some of the same things, student loans and the expenses that you come out with after you get a degree, especially a higher degree. And we talked about home loans. And we also talked about different countries that don't really have what do they call it, the credit scores. I found that pretty interesting. Alcina shared that with us, but Carissa was the one that shared the one about the expenses that you come out with the student loans, and we need a better system. And Don and I shared about home loans.
All right, very good. So yeah, this the topic of borrowing, it can get quite extensive. But again, as we are seeing, there are a lot of great reasons for it to become responsible. And I know that Irma in their group, she was talking about punctuality. And this is something that outside of the US, North America, and some of the European countries, punctuality is not necessarily a thing. It's like everything is done like whenever we feel like it, whenever we get around to it. When we are invited for gatherings, we arrive. It's the same thing in our Persian culture. When they say come at 6 o'clock, they really mean 8 o'clock. Don't come at 6 o'clock because nobody will be there. I know Irma is shaking her head. I know in the Mexican culture, it's the same thing. And even Judy is shaking her head. Like I said, but especially here in the US, 35% of our credit factor, our accountability factor is based on the character trait of being punctual, repaying our loans or our credit cards on time. So let me share my screen again. we'll go through some of the points about our credit system. I am actually thinking of doing another additional session after our sixth one for just the friends in US, because our credit system is quite complicated in here. And I don't want to go too much into detail because it's not applicable to the rest of the world, but it is very important. It's something that most of the people here in the US do not understand how it works. And I kind of feel like it's intentional. It's not taught in schools. The banks don't teach it to people. Families don't understand it. They don't know it. And yet we need it. Again, if you want to rent an apartment, the landlord has the right, and they do that. They look at our credit accountability, our financial accountability, because they want to make sure that you're going to pay the rent on time. So they look at our credit. If you want to get a cell phone, mobile phone plan, monthly plan, they again want to look at it. So I'll just go briefly through our credit system in here, which is this one is in the, I'll go back to show you the list of sorted by name. So our curriculum, as we were going through it, has the 5 files. There's the basic level, there's the advanced level, and for our friends here in US, there is the advanced level, the US supplement. This is the one that has a lot of the information about the US financial system, which is here. We have 3 companies that keep track of our financial accountability. These are the names of the company: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Whenever we have a loan, whether it's a business loan, home loan, or credit card, the financial institution, the bank that has issued that loan, provides a report to all these 3 different agencies. There's a lot of information in there: our name, our social security number, which is like our national number, date of birth, where we have lived, what kind of accounts we have, and things like that. Then again, I don't want to go into these details because this is not applicable to everyone. Then, as I mentioned, there is something called, we have the credit score here, which is a number between the lowest I've seen is like 550 or 500 or so, up to 850. And this number, that's what most of the time lenders look at to see whether we are, they can trust us to give us a loan or a credit card or not. So this information in here, then there is there's some information about, general information about credit cards, whether they're good or not. I think that credit cards I've mentioned before, they are my best friends. I cannot live without my credit cards, but it can be very deadly for some other people who have not learned how to utilize them. Later on, I'll send a message to our friends that are participating from US to see if there is any interest for an in-depth dive into our credit system. I'll do that here. All right, I'm going to stop here and see if there is any, and I really encourage you to try to find out what credit system is available in your own country. If there is something, I'm sure there is some kind, because lending is something that's everywhere in the throughout the world. But you need to find out, especially if you're planning on facilitating this program not for children. Usually children we do not present this to children. This is way above them. We usually start presenting this to like ages 15 and up. And really those who are 18 and higher, 18 and older, can have a full understanding of this, because they can actually see it. They can log in to see their credit score, to see their credit history. But for our friends around the world, I really encourage you to look into, take some time, talk to a banker, talk to a financial advisor, whoever you feel is trustworthy, that will give you the information you need about the credit system in your country. So I'm going to stop here. I'll stop sharing to see if there are any questions about the borrowing, general borrowing, before we move on to the next topic. Any questions? Either you can unmute yourself or put it in the chat. Everybody's quiet tonight. What's going on? I know Carol couldn't be here. She's always very interactive. She wasn't feeling well from Hong Kong. She sent her regards, so hopefully we'll have her back next week. All right, if there are no questions, let's continue on. The next hour and 20 to 10 minutes, Irma is going to present the two topics of thankfulness and respect. Irma, it's yours.
Okay. Okay, so I'm looking for the outline that you are going to put up for
Yes,
us.
I'm going to pull up the worksheet. So we're going to discuss the character traits of thankfulness and then respect.
Yes. So, Alex, do you want to start by reading?
It's up to you. You're in charge of these two lesson plans.
All right, then let's start by reading. First, the goal here is to recognize our countless blessings, what is necessary and unnecessary in daily life. This is something that's so important that we share with the students that we facilitate this program. It helps the students take stock of or start thinking in a way about what they have in their lives. Oftentimes, we see that there's so much that children are bombarded with social media and television and games and everything, and it's very distracting from allowing the children to really recognize how wonderful life is and how blessed they are to have the life necessities and the families that they have and the school they enjoy, the teachers they have. So I always try to talk about the positive things in life and the things that all of us are having in our lives, the blessings and the privilege of being able to go to school and have a great family and support. So we start by recognizing the blessings of life. And it's really beautiful to have the students stop and think about what the great things in life are in their own lives, and it gives them time to reflect and to be thankful. So gratitude is a really, really important concept and practice. It's not just something you think about, it's not just something you feel, but also it's something that you demonstrate in your daily life. You know, when you're happy and pleased and offer thanks to the creator or whatever power of the universe that you relate to, it's very important that you maintain an attitude of gratitude. That's something that's very important in your daily life, just in general. But we want to convey this to the children, to the students that we facilitate this program to, because being grateful is so important. And the attitude of being grateful for all the things that they have is a really important piece of this lesson. So we have in this first activity, we ask the students to sit and think about the things that they're grateful for. And they identify with the ones that they must have versus the ones you can live without. And I think it's very important that our students understand the difference between wanting something and needing something. It's a huge difference, because what they want is everything they see, or maybe the things they see that their friends have or their neighbors. And, you know, children tend to gravitate toward the shiny thing, the new thing. But when we start talking to them about, now let's see, is that something you really need? Can you live without it? Is it very important to have it in your life? So we have a lot of discussions with the students about what is really important, what you can live without. And pretty soon they get to understanding, well, I need a place to live. I need food to eat. I need clothes. Need water. I need family. So when you start really helping them understand how important it is to acknowledge and think about all of the things they have in life, then they can really start a practice of being thankful and having gratitude. So this is a really great exercise because they start thinking about, do they really, really, really need this thing that they want? So once they start listing these things and thinking about, must they have them? Can they live without these things? And then some of the things are completely unnecessary. And when they start the exercise, some of them, might say, oh, I really need this thing. But once we start talking about what's the difference between really wanting something and needing something, they start thinking differently about it. So in your own lives, everyone, I believe, should adapt an attitude of being thankful, of acknowledging all the good things that we have in life, acknowledging the great gifts that we have in ourselves. And because this is Mind Treasures, we encourage the students to be thankful even for their own great characteristics. They identify at the beginning of the course, the beginning of the program, they identify what they're strong in. Remember when we were talking about the treasures and the very first lessons, they were asked to look at a list of treasures or human characteristics, and they were challenged to identify the human characteristic that they really have to work on. And these are the things they really think about every week. So they think about the human characteristic that they need to work on. And then they identify the human characteristic that they're very strong. The strength that they have in a certain characteristic, if it's very strong in them and they don't have to struggle with that particular one. So that's another thing they can be grateful for. So it's a really great program to help the children identify and relate to life in a different way. Relate to life as the things that I have, the things that I've been given. I must be thankful for those things. And I must identify those things so that I can always maintain a really healthy and good level of gratitude for all the things that we have. Anything you want to add to that, Alex?
Yes. So I put the question in the chat. What are you thankful for? And we can see the responses. Kiza says gift of life. Aisa says health. I love Asa's comment. Discourse for real. It's actually you guys. I personally am very thankful for everyone who takes time out of their busy lives and busy time. If you remember, it's 4 a.m. For Alcina in Angola. So she woke up probably like 2:30 in the morning to start the class at 3 o'clock. So there are more coming. Maria says family connection. Now, Irma, I have a question for you.
Yes.
You kept talking about that this is what we present to kids and children needs to understand and all of that. So are you telling me that us adults are immune from this? We don't have to be thankful, or what you're saying, there's no hope. Let's just help the children recognize and forget about the adults. What are you saying here?
Well, I think the adults are the example to the children. I think the children, your children and the children in your community, whoever you interact with, they're going to see you practice gratitude and thankfulness in the way that you are as a person. Us adults, we have to do the hard work too, of recognizing the blessings of life, recognizing the good things we have. And especially as you get older, I'm speaking from my experience as an older person now, there are things that I am so grateful for today that as a younger person, I didn't even think about it twice. When you think about health, when you think about having a place to live, having security, those are incredibly important things as you get older. And especially as you get older, you must really be mindful about what's important and how to always practice gratitude in your life.
Okay. So there is another activity, as Irma was mentioning, we do all of this stuff. And I think might have mentioned a couple of times, some of the lesson plans have videos. So if you see a video link in here, I encourage you guys to definitely watch it. We watch those videos. They're usually about 3 or 4 minutes. In the facilitator manual, I'm going to pull up the facilitator manual. There is detailed information about each one of these lesson plans, and you already have access to this. Mine is loading. So let me get to some of the, there's some general practices that's explained in the facilitator manual. The facilitator manual was written for the basic level, because for the longest time prior to COVID, we were only presenting the basic level, because most of the time we could only present this to the school. But since COVID, we've been doing a lot more of these virtual series for adults and families. So one of my tasks is to actually update this facilitator manual to include the advanced level. But I wanted to show you some of the things, like if I go to the patience, moderation, right, I'm going through this fairly quickly. I want to get to, okay. So let's say for thankfulness, it does describe for every lesson plan, it describes what are the things that are needed. If there's a video, I'll talk about the thankful tree, but the video in here, it describes what the video is about, pre-video, some of the questions that we present to the participants, some of the points, and then we'll have a discussion afterward in the video. So I really encourage you to watch these videos that are listed in here. They're great. Now, thankfulness, and I'll pull it up, but I'll let Irma talk about it. It's one of those lessons that also has a activity that's not in the online worksheet, and that is the thankful tree. I'm gonna put that up. And while I'm pulling this up, I put another question in the chat. Do you think our generation is thankful or not? Let's see what you think about it. I'll let pull this up. So I'm going to the thankful lesson. We're hoping that we can implement these drawing exercises into the online sheet as well. So this is the other activity that goes along with the thankful. Irma, you want to explain this one? How does this one work?
Yes, the thankful tree is a really good way of helping the student conceptualize what's really important in life. For example, the trunk of the tree, you will tell your student, identify the things that are real, that you must have in your life. And so the trunk will have, they will write literally into the trunk the things that are really, really important that they must have. Home, shelter, food, water, family. These really essential things are the things that are in the trunk of the tree, and the bigger branches. Those are things that are really important to have in life. And then as the branches get smaller, we tell them, well, you can identify the things that are less important as you go out to the smaller branches. And then that way they can see and conceptualize things in life in terms of the order of importance or how essential they are for their lives. And that's how we use this tree.
And the way we also describe it is that if you cut the tree from the trunk, I'm gonna see if I can bring my pencil. There's an option in here. Now, okay. Yeah. So usually we ask the students, it's like, what happens if I were to cut the tree from the trunk? Well, the tree will die. You might get a little branch up, but not the full tree again. So that's why we put the life necessities down below. Everything that we, in the previous sheet, we said we must have. So such as food, water, clothing, shelter, and our health. These are basically our life necessities. That's what we need to have. So these are the ones that stay in the trunk of the tree. But then there are things, as we mentioned in here, uh, there are things that we can live without. Let's say we are thankful for what we can live without. Video games. We
Mhm.
put those in the branch. Let's see. What else can we? Irma, give me something else that we can live without.
A big widescreen TV.
Thank you. How about we put it this technology?
Yeah, technology.
Technology, this stuff again. So while we're thankful for it, but we put it in the branches because we can become sharing and giving. And by giving away the things that we are not necessarily, or like our old clothes, when we grow out of our old clothing, we can give it to others. That's like when the branches are cut, not only the tree does not die, but it actually grows bigger and stronger. So that's how in the and when we do this in live sessions, even adults, they love to color this thing and draw leaves on it and draw little animals, birds, or whatever. So it's basically trying to help us understand the concept of what is needed and what is a want, which often we have challenges with. All right, I put a question in the chat. Do you think our generation is thankful or not? Also said, unfortunately, it's easy to take things for granted until you become aware of their absence. All right. So why don't we, what time is it? Why don't we do our breakout session? Because I think we can have a great discussion about, particularly about our children and generally in our society. So the questions that we have, and everyone's looking at them too. Let's see, what questions do we have?
14.
Do we have responsible for money? Okay. So let's have the discussion. Let's concentrate on the fact that our societies have become, we've taken everything for granted, as Asa said, especially with our children, more and more that we're seeing that with our children. And what are some of the ways, especially as we have parents, we have several parents in the group here. What are some of the ways that you're trying to help your children understand that they cannot have everything? They have to become patient. They have to have self-discipline because it's easy. Our children and us, we are seeing everything. Everybody has one of these devices and we see the world in there and we want the world. So what are some of the ways that you're trying to teach your children and maybe even the children in your neighborhood, not only children, our youth and even adults, to be content with the things that we have, but also strive to grow, but for the right reason. So let's take those. It's 6 minutes after the hour, and we'll come back at 16 minutes after the hours. I did reshuffle the groups. Let me make sure we're good. Okay. All right, see you guys back in 10 minutes.
Okay.
Try to get out of here.
Please go to your breakout room, please. You're still here. Thanks. You need to go to your breakout. You're leading that group.
It's not there.
Uh,
Oh,
oh, it should be there.
it just came out.
Okay, all right. All right, which group wants to go first?
I'll go.
Go ahead.
Okay, we were talking about teaching the children how they can't have everything every time we go to the store. Alcina was saying that she's learned to have to let her daughter know, who's 7 years old, that she can't have everything, or she may have to wait. And Asia was saying the same thing, but it was funny because she said they would go to Starbucks. He said, and I go, whoa, but the dad said you can only go one day or one time a week. And I thought that was pretty cool. But Asia also asked a question about giving the children allowance. How do you determine, when to start doing that and how much? Alex?
Okay, all right, let's wait to hear on this topic, and then we'll
Okay.
come back to the allowance.
Okay. Go ahead.
Emma, your group?
Donald is presenting. He scribbled all of our discussion.
Okay. Donald,
Turn your mic on, Donald.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Donald. In our group, we shared about show them examples. And in those examples, we would talk about going about in our community and seeing what outside of our neighborhoods and seeing what's different in our neighborhoods, and sharing with families outside of our without our geographic areas as well, because Irma shared a friend's relationship, and how they spent time for the summer and with their family members outside of their country, and seeing that how they live differently from each other, and seeing that they wanted to support their family members in another place, so the kids would save their money throughout the year to prepare for the summer trip, where they would give gifts to their family members when they spent the summer with them. So I thought that was pretty good for them. And out of that, they shared, they got a very good idea that they need to push themselves to do better in their world so that they can do better for others. And we got Kiza, Kiza. He was saying that he would ask, why do we want something? And hopefully that would give them an understanding of why they would think they would want something more. So that was some of the things that we talked about. Thank you.
One more thing, excuse me. Sophia also shared a very poignant story about taking one of his daughters who wanted, the next iPhone. She wanted the next iPhone. She wanted to, upgrade. And when they went to a place where they were helping out in their community, and there were some families that were really in need and were struggling for food. And that his daughter was talking to one of the little girls there and said, oh, can I have your number? Because they became friends. And the little girl said, I don't have a phone. I don't have a number. And she asked her, well, not even a Nokia. And in Cambodia, a Nokia phone is the cheapest phone you could buy. And the little girl said, no, we're trying to get some rice for tonight to eat. And Sophia's daughter was really just flabbergasted, so shocked that, my friend doesn't have a phone, and they're just trying to get some food for tonight. And it changed her. And I think it's wonderful for children to be able to see how, you don't really need that upgrade. There are people that really are in need in our community. So I thought that was really great.
all right, very good. It sounds like great discussion. So before we get to the allowance topic, which I really want to get into as well, but this thought of, for all of us to recognize that we have so much. I remember our boys, which are now in college, they're 21, 22, and 23. There was a time when they would always complain about the internet being so slow. They would just kind of go crazy. They would pull their hair. That was the biggest problem that they had. The internet while playing games with their friends was so slow, and they're always complaining. So my wife came up with an idea. She put a piece of paper on the refrigerator, and so she said, okay, from now on, every day, each one of us, we're going to write at least one thing we're thankful for on this piece of paper, because there is so much that we need to be thankful for that we forget. And how the rest of the world. And as you will see, as I said, definitely please watch the videos for the lesson plans. They bring up a lot of realities. One of them is about a town in South Africa that's called Stinkwater. And children, students were drinking, getting water out of this well that they thought it was clean, but they were getting diarrhea, they were getting sick, and all of that stuff. Another one is from Malawi, how students, how children, they are like jam-packed into the classroom. And it compares actually a US classroom size to a classroom size in Malawi, which the size of the classroom is the same. But in our classrooms, we usually have maximum of about 35 students. There they have 90 students without chairs, without desks, without anything. They have to sit on the floor. So that brings a lot of reality. There is another one that shows, it's very sad, but it's real, how a person, a gentleman goes to like a fast food restaurant. It's Jubilee in Philippines. And he goes through the trash and picks up the food that people throw away and takes it back to this little village just outside the town so his kids can eat it. So we have a huge responsibility to make sure that, and this is the conversation that we have with our, and I'm going to put it in here. So let's put that question into the chat. Should we feel bad? And you can unmute yourself and tell us, should we feel bad for having so much? Is it bad that we have so much? Should we feel bad? What do you guys think? Anybody wants to share?
And I don't think we should feel bad if we know how to use it properly.
Okay, other thoughts? Maria said, I don't think we feel bad, rather feel grateful and think about how we could share our blessing. Okay, very good. Anybody else? Any thoughts? And that's the message that we try to bring in our program. It's like, yes, there's a lot of people. If I look at my life, there's a lot of there are a small group of people that have a lot more than that I do, but there is a larger group of my fellow human beings on earth that have a lot less than me. I don't think I should feel bad for having all the comforts in life, but then I should use all these resources to see how we can help other people to at least get the basic life necessities. Sheetfast says, not feel bad for things you have worked hard for. Yes, and Sophia says, we must feel grateful and ready to share. Exactly, sharing is the keyword in here. For us to recognize the things that we have, what we can share, and then also try to excel in life. There's nothing wrong with wanting to grow our business, have a bigger bank account, so our future in the retirement, we are comfortable. And Ariel says that we shouldn't feel bad, but we should share. Exactly, that's what we should be doing. Sharing that's the topic for next week, generosity, selflessness, and retirement. That's what we're going to be talking about next week, which has really to do with sharing. So it's a lot that we have to do. All right. Before I turn it back to Irma for respect, let's talk about allowance and pocket money. I want to see, before I share my thoughts or our thoughts from the Mind Treasures group, I want to see if there are other parents that have started giving pocket money or allowance to their children. What are your thoughts? Anybody else has started that process or think it's a good idea, not a good idea? Anybody wants to talk? What are your thoughts about giving
Yes.
money? Go ahead.
Yes,
Alcina, go ahead, please.
yes, I have started. I've been a week now in the process, and I'm starting to feel again that is not a good idea because of how the the system of the country is. Like my daughter, she's starting to feel that she deserves to earn, even though she has some jobs that she has to do to earn the money. But then now she comes, when I come home, she's like, "Oh, here's my box. You can put my 50 there. I did all my
Hey,
work."
man. Shop against
So
that size.
I'm starting to feel worried. And then this weekend, her cousins came to visit, and then she took all her money from her treasure box, and she went to buy sweets for everybody.
Hmm, Okay, that's
So I
great.
don't know.
Okay, so let me understand this correctly. So you started giving allowance to your daughter who's 8 years old, and you think it's not a good idea because now she comes and says, "I did my chores, deposit my pocket money or allowance in my box." So that's one challenge that you're saying because she feels that she has to get paid to do her chores. And then the second problem, well, that's something that you have to work on. I mean, that's not usual for the cousins to come in and just take the money. All right. Okay.
Okay.
Other thoughts from other parents? Do we have other parents that might have, or have thought about starting an allowance for their children? Do we have anybody? No? Okay. So here's our thought. The way we present the topic of allowance. We think it's absolutely essential to begin giving pocket money or allowance, whatever we want to call it. And as you mentioned, it doesn't necessarily have to be money. It can be stickers, it can be points, but there are certain guidance that needs to be followed with it. First of all, it should not be paid. Children should not be paid to do their chores, to do their responsibilities, because, and that's one point that over and over when we do work with children in schools, we emphasize. So they should not feel like, oh, I'm going to go home and tell my parents that I fixed my bed, I helped wash dishes, I took the trash out, I did this, I cleaned my room, and I should get paid for it. We actually talked to them about that. There are only 2 times in our lives that we are not responsible for anything. When we are a baby and we are in diapers, and then again, when we go back into diapers in our old ages. And they always get a kick out of this. They ask me, so Mr. Alex, what are you talking about? It's like, yes, when we get older, sometimes we lose control of our body functions and we have to go back into diapers. So those are the only 2 times that we have no responsibility. We usually ask the teacher or other adults that we have responsibility. So no child should be paid to do their chores. Now, we have to make sure what we define chores as. Again, washing dishes, taking out trash, help washing clothes, fixing their bed, keeping their bedroom clean. But if a parent asks their child to go wash their car, well, that's not a chore. Then you should probably pay your child. Anything beside normal things, that is not considered a chore. Now, the question of how much and when to start giving, that is really when to start giving. It's up to the parents. Usually about when they start going to school, that might be a good idea. Before that, I think something that we can help with, and this is what we did with our children when they were very little, and we would go to our Baha'i gatherings. We always had a fund box for people to contribute. And we would give our child $1 or something like that. So they would develop the habit. That's something that you can do. If you do attend a church, a mosque, or any organization that you go and they're in need of funds, the habit could start from very young age, just giving them some money and then encouraging them to give. Now, of course, as they grow older, we did not continue that encouragement. It's like, then it was optional. We would ask our children, it's like, do you guys want to give something? And when we started to give them allowance, then it's like, all right, let's make sure that part of your allowance, you set it aside for giving to the charity works. So if you remember, I'm going to share my screen and show you guys the treasure box that we use for our program. So not only giving money or allowance to our kids, but also helping them understand what to do with it. So having something like this, either if it's a box, if it's like jars that are glued together, not envelopes, because envelopes is easy to lose them, but either jars or a box or something like that, it really helps them understand the importance of all these 4 different slots in here. Of course, when they're young, they're not spending, except when the cousins come over and take all the money to go buy candy, that could go out of spend. But then sharing is when we're generous to charitable causes. Invest at a young age. We normally just tell them about higher education. That's the easiest way to explain to them. And of course, save, putting some money into save is for something that they like to have. I think kids love to have Legos. I don't know, besides Legos, what other toys do they play with these days? Balls, or do they just spend time on their phone? So that guidance is there. And then if in your society, it's not traditional, but it's something that here in US, we take our children to the bank at a very young age. So they also get into the habit of depositing their saved money into the bank. So that's what we would do. Whatever they put in their save, every month or so, we would take them to the bank so they would get used to the concept of banking services and going. Of course, they always complain. It's like that. You always take our money and put it in the bank and we never get to see it again. So that's how we introduce the register book to them. It's like, well, let's keep track of how much money you get and where does it go. If the banks give any kind of interest, that could be added in there. So there is a lot of responsibility that goes along with allowance. It's not just giving the money to the child and just forgetting about it. There's a lot of guidance that needs to go with it. And as they grow older, that guidance become more and more sophisticated. Like when our boys were ready to have credit cards, we did not just give them credit cards. We monitored their spending. We told them that we're going to monitor, and this is not for you to go take your friends out to lunch or to when you go hang out. It's for you to get used to this idea. Now, how much of it, that really is up to the parents, the family situation, and the maturity of the child. Some parents here in the US, they give like $1 per week per their age. So if the child is 7 years old, maybe they give them $7 per month or per week. That's something that some parents have done. Ms. Banks, Irma, you guys want to add something to this allowance concept?
No, but I think the most important thing is for the child not to feel like they have to charge the parents for doing work around the house. A child, I believe a student should understand that they have family responsibilities that don't require being paid, to do their household, the regular chores that they do, as part of helping out with their family.
Ms. Banks, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, it shouldn't be transactional,
I agree with Irma because that's also teaching that you're part of the family. Everybody does their fair share, and anything else is a bonus. But the allowance is something that we're allowing you to have, but I'm not going to pay you to make your bed.
Right.
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 And also helping your children to set that goal. So the same process as you're doing as parents, you're setting some goals, whether it's to buy something or pay off your debt or whatever that is. Again, everybody wants something. I had something else to share. Let me pull this up. So if you remember in our first session, when we looked at the scriptures, This is all about helping ourselves and also our children to learn why these desires and temptations are there. There's a divine purpose to these desires and temptations, that just as we talk to our children about not getting involved in drugs, not getting involved in smoking, not backbiting, not doing a lot of things that others do. Same thing, because wanting things as a child, everybody, not even just as a child, even as adults, we always want something. We see and our eyes tells us that we want it, whether it's the latest cell phone, a bigger car, shinier watch, or whatever that is. So understanding that God has created this system of desire and temptations, not to tempt us, just as clearly it says in here, but it's for us to develop the characteristics of being content, having self-discipline, and setting a purpose in life, which is not to just think about material stuff, but to do other things. And you'll be surprised once you start this allowance system and help your child set a goal. You'll be surprised to see how well they grasp the idea. So they anxiously wait to get their allowance and to save some of it for something that they want. All right. I'll stop here to see if there are any questions about allowance, pocket money, or helping our children understand this concept. You good? Okay, so we got 20 minutes left. Irma, you're gonna do respect?
Yes.
So let me put the app. And respect. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so the subject of respect is, we like to present the concept of respect, first of all, by helping them understand that you respect everything in our surroundings. Respect is usually related to how you treat people and how you talk to people, how you acknowledge other people, and how you treat people. And that's a very important concept in showing and teaching respect. But we also show respect, besides, being courteous and treating others with dignity and honor the rules of, our school and our nation. And, basically, if you respect yourself, others will respect you. And we know those concepts are true. And so we carry that over and ask the students, what are the things that are in your life that you should respect? So the students start thinking about what they respect in their lives, and they start listing them in this first activity. I respect, and then they go and they give them a few minutes to write the different things they respect. But the more important thing now is the second column is they show their respect by doing these things. So not only do they identify the things they respect, but they also have an understanding on how to show respect, how to show respect for the things that they are identifying in their lives. So, and this goes with the video that Alex mentioned about respect, but respect also carries over into how we treat the things in our life. For example, we are trying to teach how we respect money, because all of this is our way of showing that we understand that money should be respected by the way we use it, by the way we treat it, by the way we manage it. So that's how we show our respect toward money. So we always want to keep them engaged in understanding, because it's also a carryover from gratitude. You have gratitude for the things you have in life, and you also show respect for those same things that you're grateful for. And there's also an exercise in showing it by the way that you're treating the things in your life, by the way that you show, for example, you might show your family you know, how you respect them, the way you treat your family members, the way you treat your schoolmates, the way you treat your teachers. So, you know, we show them respect is also an activity that you do by showing others and showing the object of your respect. And Alex is helping very much here. You show your family you respect by listening to your parents, by being obedient, of course, by the way you talk to them, the way that you're receiving their advice. All of that has to do with respect. But in this lesson, we also carry over the concept of respect by the way we treat our surroundings. It's very important, I believe, to show the students that this is our home, not only the house you live in, but the earth itself is our home. And how do we show our home where we all live here together? How do we show respect? Yes, and Alex very truthfully is saying, we are borrowing this home from the creator or the universe. So we are living here, we're visiting here. And how do we show our respect toward the earth? How do we show our respect toward the resources of this earth, of this planet? So we want to always explain to our students that we show respect by the way we treat the earth. Just the way we show respect how we treat others, we also show respect to the earth. And we have quite a number of discussions. The children are very, especially students nowadays, they're very concerned with the environment. They have been exposed to a lot of concepts about sustainability, about saving the earth, about waste, plastic. I have taken, I show the students, something that I ordered from Amazon, for example, and there were like 4 or 5 layers of plastic in this one item that I ordered, a book. And they had so many layers of plastic wrapping. You know, they had a hard plastic wrapping, and they had soft plastic, then they had bubble wrap. I mean, this little book was so bulky. And when I saw how much waste was being generated by this one thing, and when you show the students, look, this was the next layer, then this was the next layer, and you show the student this pile of plastic that will take the earth 1,000 years to even break down, they can really see, oh, we are accumulating much too much waste. We are being so wasteful by the way we are treating the earth. And this is a very important thing that we try to teach the students, that we have to respect the earth. The food that we eat, we don't waste food. We don't waste water. We don't waste the resources that are very precious of this earth. So we have quite a number of discussions with them. The video helps a lot because the video shows you, a couple of young ladies having a meal, and they barely, took a couple of bites, and then they just, not hungry anymore. They really didn't care about it. And that helps us to discuss with the children, well, what do you do with your leftovers? What do you do when you have too much food on your plate? What do you do when you go to a restaurant and you have, food that you couldn't eat? We encourage them, hey, you can take that home. You can eat those leftovers. You could, you can take care of the food that your parents are cooking. If you cook too much, be sure to put it away. Be sure to save it and eat it another day. We try very hard to explain to them how important it is to respect our home, respect our clothing, the way you treat your clothing, respect the food that you eat by not wasting it, respect the water that you're drinking. And especially that the video from that little town in Africa, when they were watching these children that were getting very sick because there was not any good water in the area. many things that we take for granted, we try to teach them. These things are very important to respect and to use them in a very wise and respectful way.
So I put the question in the chat. What are the things you respect in your life? Also, I have provided a few. She says respect for people who admit their mistakes and want to solve problems. Respect for Earth, that's why I put in there. Being our home and giving us nourishment. Respect ourselves as noble beings and make effort to nourish our spirit. And this goes back to where we started. We posed the question, are we born rich? Which the answer is obviously yes, not in material stuff, but our spirit is very rich. And yet we don't respect our spirit. We don't respect our body, which is the carrier of this spirit while it's on earth. It says another comment is people and their philosophy. I think that's very true. We all have different ideas that we need to share, and we need to be, even when we don't understand or don't agree with other people's ideologies or philosophies, we can be respectful to them. It's like, well, that's your idea, I respect that, and that's my idea, let's hope that you respect. Irma, you talked about waste. That's one of my pet peeves in here, especially here in US. So I'm going to put it in the chat. What are the things? We got about 10 minutes left. Let's hear it from our participants, and please open your mic. I'm going to stop sharing so we can have some discussion, because this is a very dear topic to me, at least, and I know that the amount of stuff that's being wasted in our society. So what are the things you're seeing that are wasted in your society, in your neighborhood, in your surroundings? Does anybody want to share? I don't think there's any shortage of waste in any society these days. Anybody would like to share some thoughts? What's being wasted in your society?
Human health.
I was thinking, was that human health? Is that what you said?
Yes, yes.
How's that? How is human health being wasted?
We have a lot of diseases in Angola, and I'm sure in many parts of Africa, that will easily be eradicated due to better water system, like what you said about the video, and better, how do you call it, hygienic systems in
Hygiene.
for the hygienic system, which we don't have, and it's I feel like it's a wastage of human health, and a lot of people who are responsible for it, they don't care. So that's how I feel.
All right. So in the chat we have, let's see, what do we have? Sheet says paper and junk mail. Yes, electricity, water, food. There's this so much waste going on in here, and there's so much that we can do about it. And also says time and energy. Exactly. So if you remember in the first questionnaire that we did, we asked, what do you do with your free time? And besides during the pandemic, it's like some people said, well, I watch movies or videos. Well, it used to be movies and videos. Now it's just those short 7-second TikTok, or whether it's because our attention span has become only 7 seconds or 10 seconds at best. So there's so much that we're wasting. And yet, like what Alcina is saying, and also from last week when we listed out things that we can improve in our societies, there's so much that we can get involved in and not just waste our time. Maria hit my pet peeve, plastic. I'm just amazed at how much plastic, just like what Irma was talking about, and we can so easily. I was looking for my stuff. I usually bring in a few things to the sessions. Plastic is all around us, but we can save so much of it. Like whenever we go out to restaurants to eat, I always bring my cup, especially where I know that they're going to give me a cup to drink water or soda or something. I pay for the soda, but I use my own cup. There's no reason to just grab a cup. Even if it's paper, most places they give you a plastic cup, but I refuse. Plastic utensils. I bring my own, even to meetings or even picnic. I've gotten used to the idea of bringing my own fork, my own spoon if I need, my own plate. If I know that there's going to be food served and they're going to be using plastic or paper stuff, I'll bring my own things. And I don't even talk about it. And people come and ask, it's like, well, why did you do that? It's like, well, because we are talking about saving the planet. Everybody loves to talk about saving the planet, but not many people are willing to actually save it. For us here, I wish I had it. Ziploc bags is something that we all use. But my question to especially our friends in US, are you still buying Ziploc bags? And if your answer is yes, why? I still use a lot of Ziploc bags, but I don't buy them anymore. Everybody, you're shaking your head. You know how.
I wash mine. My Ziploc bags, I wash them, I reuse them. You can, it doesn't take a lot of time just to, wipe them, let the air hit them. They're just as good as brand new. You don't have to keep buying plastic. You can reduce it enormously with just a little effort,
And most of the products that these days we buy in the United States, they already come in a Ziploc bag. Some of them make sense, some of them no. It's like fruit comes in, like cherries come in a Ziploc bag. I don't understand why, because cherries, you eat them like in a day or two. Why is it in a Ziploc bag? I have no idea. But a lot of things that we buy these days already come in a Ziploc bag. So there's no reason for me to buy a Ziploc. That's one. Another one that we really did with our children. So here in US, most of the time when we would go to restaurants, they would bring like coloring piece of paper for the children to color. And they would also give them crayon, brand new set of crayons. And they would use it, and then kids would just leave them on the table, and then the parents would leave. And to me, that was such a big waste. First of all, we always brought our crayons, and even if we forgot, we would take those crayons and then bring it home so the kids could use it. There is so much. It's just a matter of thinking about it and being conscious of what's happening. So please be conscious of what you're surrounding. All right, we got only 4 minutes left, so let me show you the assignments for next week. I need to find my share screen. Here. All right, so we've come through thankful, we did respect. So go ahead and for this week, write down completely exercises in the respect. Write down the things you're respectful for. How do you truly show your respect? By what you're doing. And then what is wasted? Either you're wasting or your society, and how, what are your thoughts about how to stop wasting these things? So that's one. Next week, we're going to talk about generosity. So there are a few activities here that you got to do. They're fairly self-explanatory. We want to know what you can do to bring joy and happiness to others. And then what are some of the locations, if there are organizations that you have helped, like gone and done some help other people in there. And then what do you think you can do to bring joy and happiness to yourself now and in the future? So that's what that is. Don't worry about activity 3, election process. We'll describe it next week. And then also we're going into the second, so that's going to be the first hour next week. And then the second hour is going to be about investing, retirement and investing. There is no activity for that. So you don't have to do anything about the courage and investing. We'll talk about that next week. But let's not forget our ongoing. For those friends that are joining a little later, remember, we just finished the month of May. So now it's time to go in and enter all your actual numbers in column B, however you spent your money, however income you had and spent your money. I know our friends here in the US, Asa and Kaisa, they started using Mint. So hopefully that will help you guys have total numbers for each one of these categories, especially like for supermarket category and eating out, because those are not one or two. Usually we do a lot of those. So that's that one. And then for assets and liabilities, again, some of you still have the old worksheet. So the idea is to record the value of our assets and liabilities as of March and May 31st or June 1st. I mean, we don't have to be exact date, but in this column, we want to know what is the value. You want to know what is the value of whatever you have. These are some examples in here. Rental property, if you have anything, how much you have in your deposit or checking account, how much you have in your savings, if you have other stuff. The value of the car kind of stays the same. I mean, sometimes it changes. If you own a home already, what is the price of your home if you were to sell it today? Doesn't have to be exact, but just kind of close to what you think the value of the home is. And then listing out what you owe. If you have a loan or a mortgage on your home, if you have any credit card debt, student loans, other debt. So we want this to be retirement accounts. I know in some I do need to add the retirement accounts, as I was talking to several of our friends here in the US. This will give us a picture of what we own and then what we owe. So we can see how we're making a progress. And just going back to our budget sheet, if you notice, I haven't talked about this slide, but this line tells us this number in here, as you can see, it says percentage of expense supported by passive income. So basically what it does, it takes this number in here, this 200, and divides it by the total outgoing. So if I am from my job and from my parents, I get 2,500, and I have passive income of 200, and my expenses of 1,000, 18%, this 200 is 18% of that 1,000 that is coming from my passive income. And our goal is to increase this number to shift. And this does not happen in 1 year. This is a plan that will happen over decades as we are going through by spending less and less on things that we don't necessarily need, but investing the money that we work hard for in different things. And we are hoping that before we get to the age where we cannot physically work, this number becomes 100 or more, meaning that our passive income is more than our monthly expense. So those are the assignments for next week. I'll stop here, see if there's any questions before we end today. Are we good? Any questions or anything? All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day on the other side of the world, and we'll try to get some rest on this side. See you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.